Hi, I'm Angel with FleeceFun.com and Shannon Fabrics. Today I'm going to show you how to make this beautiful rag quilt. It's fun, it's fast, and it's easier than you think. For this project, you will need the following. You will need Shannon Fabrics Cuddle Cakes. In the example, I used 2 packages. Flannel. Again, in the pattern example, I used 3 yards of flannel. But depending on the size of the quilt you're planning on making, this might need to be adjusted. Thread, scissors, ragging shears, rotary cutter, ruler, and mat, and walking foot. Alright, now that you have all those items, it's time to get started. And if you haven't noticed, we're actually in a different location today, but I still have the damask behind me. Must always have it behind me, right? I'm going to show you step by step how to make this rag quilt. It's really easy to make, and it's a great first quilting project if you're not experienced with quilting. Now, coming from the perspective of a non-quilter, I don't quilt a lot, it's a very good first project. But I feel sometimes when quilters do these tutorials, they naturally assume that you know things and they skip over stuff. But I'm going to take this from the perspective of a beginner. So I'm going to walk you through step by step, give you a few tips and tricks, so you'll be able to make this quilt in no time and make it correctly. Alright, let's get started. Come on. If you're planning on using flannel filler, wash and dry the flannel, then cut 10-inch squares out of the flannel. In the pattern example, I used 2 10-inch squares in each block. Assemble the blocks you desire. In the pattern example, I'm making a block that is cuddle on the top and cuddle on the bottom with 2 layers of flannel in between. Double check the nap of the cuddle to make sure it's going the same direction on both sides of the block. Tip: for easy and quick assembly, make the block the same color on the top and the bottom. Now, sew each individual block together with a diagonal seam across the block, forming an X. And before we sew everything together, there is one important step. You need to design your quilt. And what I mean by that is you need to lay it out and make sure that you have the pattern going the way you want. And more importantly, when you lay it out, you also make sure that you have the cuddle fabric all laying in the right direction, especially if you're backing it with the cuddle. You need to make sure that the nap is all going in the same direction. This just makes for a much more pleasing, tactile experience when you're cuddling underneath the blanket. So you're going to lay it all out, make sure that cuddle's going in the right direction. In the example, my quilt is 4 blocks by 5 blocks. Now that you have your quilt designed, sew each row of the blocks together. For the large blocks, I prefer a 3/4 inch seam allowance. Double check the nap and make sure it's all going in the same direction and sew it together. Now that you have all the blocks sewed together in rows, it's time to sew the rows together. Using the same seam allowance as you did on the blocks, sew the rows together. Be sure to fold or press the seams out for best results when sewing through the thick layers. With thick blocks, like the one in the example, a walking foot is best. Is using the same seam allowance that we were using here. Is we're going to use that and sew all the way around so we can rag the edges as well. Easy, easy. Time to cut up all your hard work. Using scissors or ragging shears, snip the seam allowance about 1/4 inch to 1/2 inch apart, all the way around. Wash your cuddle quilt to complete the ragging process. And you're finished. You have this beautiful rag quilt that just gets softer and more beautiful as you wash it, as time goes on. And it's just a really nice present. It's a nice gift. I know my girls have been wanting me to get this project done because they're like, "Is my blanket done yet?" If you like this project and tutorial, I have several others on my blog, FleeceFun.com, that I know you'll enjoy. All my patterns and tutorials are free. You can also check out my YouTube channel and subscribe there because I post awesome videos just like this one there all the time. Also, I'm on Facebook and Pinterest, so you can check me out there. Have a great day. Remember, velvet is pretentious, fleece is fun.